So as I mentioned, this is for the sewer services that we recently completed installing in Wells Place, and this is what PwC considers as Project 23. And I mentioned that because the information that's on our website and some other things that we will talk about, this is how this project is referred to. So it will help you in the communications. I do want to remind you that we are recording this, and if you have questions as we go along, we would ask that either you put them in chat or raise your hand. If you can let us move through the presentation, we likely will have most of the questions probably answered. We've done a lot of these meetings, so we will try to get as many questions as we can. And I have some other people from PwC and outside of PwC that are joining us to talk about this evening. So I will let you know who that is as we get there. If you are on this call, we are going to make the assumption you are in Wells Place and you have received a connection notice at your address. And you received a meeting notice in the bright yellow envelope like is on the screen. And we do want to make sure that we are talking to, or anyone who's in this group is in this area, because some of the information that we talk about is very specific to Wells Place. So if you happen to be joining just as an information session and do not live in these areas, please know that some of this information may not be applicable if you are not, do not receive a connection notice or a meeting notice for tonight, but you're definitely welcome to stay. So tonight's meeting, we will take you through some of the post-construction information that you need to know, including about paving in your area. We will take you through the steps of connecting to the sewer service. We will give you some tips for hiring plumbers. We will talk about what happens to your septic tank. We will also cover how sewer services are billed, and then we will break down the cost related to sewer connection and assessments and review the assessment process. And again, if you have questions as we're going along, we would ask if you could at first ask it in the chat feature, and then we will address it so everyone can get the information. So the first thing we do want to cover is the post-construction information for this area. With us this evening is AJ Riddle, and AJ is with our Water Resources Construction Department, and he does help oversee the installation process. So at this time, I'm going to invite AJ to join. If you could share your video there, and then please give us an overview of the post-construction. I want to make sure you're unmuted too. Okay. AJ, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So first, I would like to thank everyone for attending, and also thank y'all, everyone in the neighborhood. We during construction, for cooperation and patience. The project duration exceeded what we expected, and so your patience was really known, and we appreciate that. Construction is messy, but construction is now complete. We have completed the installation of the sanitary sewer services, the pavement patching, and also restored the yards and where we put in the service laterals with sod. I'd like to just remind everybody that there is a 1-year warranty on the project. We will be performing a 6-month walkthrough within the next probably 5 months. You'll see us since the project has been completed. And then you'll also see us again for a 1-year warranty review. Any issues that we identify at that time will be addressed, and the contractor will make corrective action. If you have any issues or questions regarding the restoration or construction, you're welcome to call us. The number here at the screen is 910-223-4730. Any questions you have regarding the workmanship or deficiencies, just notify us and we'll be happy to respond. I would like to also just let everyone know that, the city of Fayetteville is aware that the project is complete. Typically, they add the streets 12 to 18 months to overlay those streets that we have worked on, is when they will be performing that work. And we work closely with them and invite them to both the 6-month and the 12-month walkthroughs to help identify any issues. And that's all I have, Ms. Carolyn.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions related to the post-construction information that AJ presented? If you do, if you would please add that to the chat or raise your hand. If not, or if you think of something as we go along, please just put it in the chat. So we will move along to the next part of our presentation. And this meeting is about connecting to the sanitary sewer system. Reminder that this process involves changing your home's plumbing from your existing septic tank to the newly installed sewer system. And once you do that, your wastewater then goes through the PWC sewer system and into our treatment plants where it is cleaned and returned to the Cape Fear River. So that is the ultimate objective to connecting to the sanitary sewer, is changing your home's plumbing, and instead of going to the septic tank, your wastewater going into the sewer system. We've also added here a graphic, and this will help in our talking about the connection. As you saw during the installation, the sewer mains were installed, most of them in the roadway and the right-of-way. Your property had a clean-out installed. And the process that we're going to talk about in the connection is that connection between what we refer to as a clean out and your home. So this is the line that we will be talking about. I'm going to ask AJ if he can come back on a second and if he has anything else to add regarding the clean outs or anything with that installation. So I'm going to ask him if he can come back on.
So as Ms. Carolyn said, most of these cleanouts are located here near the edge of the right-of-way, and we will provide a connection for the property owner beyond that, right there at the termination point of the right-of-way line, and it's typically 18 inches below the soil there. And if you have any questions about the location, if your plumber is unable to find it, you may reach out to us and we can help try to identify where it's at, or send our project coordinator back through to help identify where it's at. But usually it's relatively easy to find. There's some that are located in easements, and we might have to provide that information to them. If you have any questions, just again, please feel free to reach out to us. But that's all I have to add.
Right. Thank you, AJ. Before we move on, there was a question in the chat about paving not beginning for 12 to 18 months. As AJ explained, through the process of making sure that everything has settled, and so that when that paving is done, there's nothing that disturbs it. The paving will take 12 to 18 months before that process happens. Okay, we are going to continue. Oh,
excuse me, Ms. Caroline, I failed to mention that if the plumber's out there within a certain amount of time, there should be pavement markings, green mark on the curb for their clean out. And also if it's within the easement, there should be a stake. I failed to mention that. I apologize.
Okay. So that would help answer the question if someone did not think the clean out was installed, or that would help you locate where that is at. All right, so we're going to move on in our next section. So we're going to talk through the steps of connecting to the new sewer. I'm going to kind of follow this flow chart. We're at the top right now where PwC did mail you a connection notice. You are not required to connect to these services. That is the first thing that everyone does need to understand. You're not required to connect. However, if you do connect within the first 6 months that this service is available, there is a utility connection fee that is waived, and we will talk about that and the cost later in the presentation. Even if you do not connect, property owners where the utility lines have been installed are still responsible for the assessment, whether they connect or not. And the connection and the assessment we will discuss here after we talk about how to actually connect to the sewer. If you are looking at connecting, the City of Fayetteville has a community development fund where funds may be available to help with the plumber's fee as well as the assessment. You need to, if you want to check into this, it does need to be done before you hire a plumber. So that's why we kind of have it up here at the beginning, because we want to make sure that if you do qualify for any of that assistance, it is done in a timely manner so it doesn't prevent you from getting that assistance. So we're here at the bottom with how do we connect. Two things related to this. You can hire a plumber, which we do have a plumber on our meeting tonight. Who can help talk through this process and give us some best practices for when you're looking for a plumber. Or you do have the option of doing the work yourself, but you must be the property owner living on the property or in the property. It cannot be rental property. And so we're going to, at this point, cover the part of hiring a plumber. So we're going to move through. And so PwC does have a list of licensed local plumbers on our website, and that is available. We do not endorse or promote any specific plumber. And so this list is for information purposes only. We do want to make sure that people are aware of our local plumbers. And for this list, they have certified that they pay taxes in Cumberland County and employ at least 2 Cumberland County residents at their place of business in Cumberland County. So our plumber's tips, and I think if we have Philip Woods on our call, if we have him on the call, we'd like to ask him if he could unmute and join us through this discussion. I am going to continue on, and if Philip does unmute, we will have him join the conversation here. So the information that we have on the screen has been compiled from previous meetings and the many conversations that we have had with local plumbers and things that should be considered during this process. One thing that they want you to know is that every property is different. The location, the distance of the clean out versus your home's plumbing, your landscaping, all of those factors will make a difference in the quotes that you receive from plumbers. They all agree that you should always get at least 3 quotes and have the plumbers give the quote in person where they can give the proper evaluation of your property and your plumbing. They say avoid phone quotes, or even some plumbers are using online mapping to provide the quotes, and they may not be as accurate. While they may be able to use some of that mapping, there may be things that may be obstructing the area that they would work, which could lengthen the line for where they need to install it. But they do encourage you to get those in person and avoid phone quotes. As we mentioned with our list, please consider local plumbers. You may also consider asking other residents for their experiences with different plumbers. I use this quote because this is a quote that has come from numerous plumbers, that you get what you pay for, that cheaper is not always better. So they just be very careful while you are looking at these quotes. Also, when you are hiring a plumber, please establish your post-work expectations before the job starts. And that includes what is expected afterwards, the cleanup, the fill-in, the landscaping, because oftentimes they say they will get to the end of a project, or a resident may get to the end of the project and a plumber has not completed the cleanup or the fill-in, and when the resident brings that up, that was not a part of their work expectation. So make sure that those are some things that you do discuss with the plumbers when you're getting quotes and hiring. The plumbers say, and this is kind of very important, because they will have, plumbers may tell you that they are offering a warranty, but plumbers' work is guaranteed for life. They are already required by law to provide that warranty. And so if, when you're talking with plumbers about a quote, if that is included as an extra added bonus, this is something that they are already required to provide. One of the last tips is something that is really important. As I mentioned earlier in the connection, if you connect within the first 6 months of the sewer being available, and we will talk about that deadline upcoming in the presentation, please make sure you are scheduling your plumber early, because the work has to be completed and inspected by the deadline. And we see it with each project that the demand for plumbers and connections increases near the end of the deadline. Excuse me. And this is very, very important for everyone to know. If you are working with a plumber and the plumber says, I can talk to PwC, I can get an exception, I can get an extension of the waiver deadline, that is not a true statement. There are no exceptions or extension of the deadline. The only thing that has been different here at PwC in the last year or so is because of COVID. The normal 6-month period was extended for the areas that had already been, the sewer was available for connection. So if your plumber does tell you that, please know that that is not a true statement. So we want to make sure that you are aware of that as you start looking at hiring a plumber and hearing what they have to offer for you. All right. Are there any other questions regarding plumbing or hiring a plumber? If not, we will move on, or if you come up with a question, please add it to the chat. So along with this, the question comes up, what happens to my septic tank? During this process, if you're connecting to the PWC sewer, it does need to be completely disconnected. Currently, there are no plumbing code requirements for existing septic tanks when you are connecting to the sewer service. The Cumberland County Health Department does make recommendations that for safety purposes, they encourage people to pump out your septic tank and then have it crushed and filled because they don't want to, in the future, people not being aware that there was a septic tank there and eventually that being an issue for someone if it's either you're still the property owner or a future property owner. In the chat, I see a question that who does crush and fill? That's a great question. I know that I think plumbers can do it, or I think there are other contractors that are able to do that. I don't know if any of my staff can provide any additional information on that. Okay. If we get any other information on that, we will pass that along. All right. I'm going to move along from what happens to the septic tank to talking about the actual, you've had your sewer connected, when does the billing start? First, the question is, do you already have a PWC account? And everything that I know about Wells Place, you should have PWC Electric and you have Aqua Water. So if you have PWC Electric, you are already an established PWC customer. Once you connect, you've hired your plumber, you have the connection, it's inspected, you can contact PWC. We will also receive inspection information from the city of Fayetteville. And once that time frame it's connected, we will begin billing. So the monthly charges for the sewer, and I mentioned earlier, when you're connecting, the wastewater is going into the PWC system, it's going into our treatment plants, and that is what the monthly charge is for. Because this area has Aqua Water, you are billed at what is considered a flat rate for your services. Some areas that have PWC water are billed by the amount of water that they use, but because you have a different water provider, that is billed at a flat rate. So on this screen, this will give you an idea of what you would see once you add PWC services. This is what your PWC bill would look like. Below your electric bill details, you would see a sewer bill detail, sewer with the flat charges. And the flat charge currently, with the flat charge plus the sewer utility line relocation rider, is $40.40 a month. And again, this is an example of what you would see on your PWC bill after you connect. I'd like to take you through the cost related to the connection or in the assessment. So the way we have this information set up here, so the first column does address, as I mentioned earlier, even if you are not connecting, property owners are responsible for the assessment. A typical single-family home is $5,000, and this is the cost that goes toward the actual infrastructure that was installed in your neighborhood. And PwC pays the largest portion of this cost, and the property owners, as I said, for a typical single-family home would pay $5,000. As you can see on this, if you're not connecting, there are no other costs associated with that. And we'll talk a little bit more about the assessment after we go through the connection. If you are connecting within the first 6 months that this service is available to you, and that connection deadline is February 28th of 2022, and everyone should have received that in your connection letter. So if you connect in that first 6 months, the utility connection charge, which was previously referred to as an FIF fee, that you would not pay that fee. You would pay the cost directly to the plumber who is doing the work, and the plumber that you have either hired or if you happen to be doing that yourself. And then you would pay your monthly sewer fee. And again, that's billed once that connection is made. And that flat fee, $39.40, with the utility, $1 utility fee is $40.40. And the utility deposit, as mentioned here, is not applicable if you already have a PwC account. Now, I'll move over to our last line or last column here. If you connect after the February 28th date, you would be, as everyone, responsible for your assessment. The utility connection charge, which I mentioned, currently is $1,107, and anyone who connects after that waiver deadline would pay that charge at whatever the existing charge is. It currently is $1,107. So that is one of the areas and ways that you can see a potential savings in connecting within that first 6 months. Again, even if you're connecting afterwards, you would pay your plumbers directly and the PwC sewer bill. Again, you would pay the cost at whatever that rate is at the time of connection. So I want to move on to the information about the assessments, and I want to check, don't know if we still have Mark Brown on the call. He may have had to jump off. I mentioned him. He is mentioned here in our bullet points. If he is not here, we will get questions to him if we aren't able to answer it. So I mentioned you are not required to connect, but you are still responsible for the assessment. PwC will mail you information when the City Council schedules their assessment confirmation public hearing. We do expect this sometime this fall. When you get the information, or if you have questions prior to that, Mark Brown is your PwC contact for that, and his number is 910-223-4224. So once the city council holds a public hearing and then confirms the assessment, PwC will mail you information. We will hold an information meeting to explain the assessment or the payment options, or you would be able to talk with any of our staff that works with the assessments. Just like the plumber's fee, the City of Fayetteville's Community Development does have assistance available if you happen to be eligible. The number for the City of Fayetteville's Community Development Department is 433-1599. And as I did mention earlier, for all projects related to the Phase 5 sewer installation, and this goes back into around 2007, the City Council did establish that assessment at $5,000 for a typical single family property. So that has not changed since these projects started around 2007, and do not anticipate it changing for the typical single family home. Once the assessment is confirmed, a property owner does have up to 10 years to complete the payment of this. It can be done as obviously a one-time payment. PwC can set up with monthly payments or yearly payments. So there are several options as you go through that assessment process. And also, as you set up those options, you would have the ability to change. So perhaps you decide you want to pay monthly, and then over the course of that 10 years, you want to switch it to yearly or vice versa. We would have the ability to do that. If you have money that you want to put down toward that assessment at the beginning, our staff can provide you information of what your payment would look like with either a monthly or a yearly payment. And the staff that works with this, they have done this for many years, and they are very knowledgeable and very helpful when we come to that time. So I hope if we're able to have a meeting or the information you receive, we'll have their contact information that they can help you, and I'll help you through that process. If you do select monthly or yearly payments, there is interest that is charged with that, and that is the rate is set by the city council, and it's prime plus 2%, and each year the city council sets that as of July 1st. So let's see, I'm looking to see if Courtney, I think Courtney from PwC is also on the call. Courtney, if you could put in the chat, I think Mark had provided you what that current interest rate is.
He did. I will find that and I will put that in the chat in a second.
Okay. We want to confirm that. But again, that is set by the city council at the beginning of each fiscal year for the city. And with that, that is our overview of the connection process. Again, we have staff on calls on this meeting who hopefully can answer questions. We hope this information has been helpful for you. If you want to talk to someone at PwC about walking you through this process, you can call 910-223-4600. And this is the group that you would be talking to when you call in to connect. But if you need them to answer some questions or help you as you start into this process, they are also very knowledgeable of this. Do we have any questions on any of the things that we covered? Frank. Give me 1 second. I see Frank has raised his hand.
Yeah, I put this in the chat and I was just wondering, I know it's like $40 a month flat rate for sewage. What has been the rate of increase of that fee over, some period of time? Does it go up $2, $5 a year?
About I'm going to say, and I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me. I can get it, but we have typically seen about a 3%, 4% increase a year with the flat fee. And I'll tell you, currently, any of our infrastructure related, water and sewer right now are very infrastructure intensive, obviously. And with the aging infrastructure, we're doing a lot of rehab, replacement, actually looking at or planning for an expansion of one of our wastewater treatment plants. So because of those anticipated capital costs related to providing sewer services, we would anticipate that those that may be a trend over the next few years.
Okay, and since I have you, I'll ask another question if that's okay. Are there any plans to put us on city water?
Look, I'm going to see if Misty Manning or AJ, I don't know if either of you are.
I can answer, Carolyn. So your neighborhood currently has aqua water. So there are no plans at this time to extend PWC water into the Wells Place neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Misty. I'm give you an update on the interest rate that was asked about. The prime is currently 3.25%, and so the interest rate for the Project 23 Wells Place will be 5.25%. Thank you, Courtney, for getting that. Do we have any other questions? If we don't, we will we'll come to a close. Again, if you have questions about the connection process, you can call 223-4600. If you have questions or inquiries regarding the post-construction work, you can call our engineering office who managed this project, and I'm going to draw a blank here. Its number is 223. Give me a second, unless Misty can jump in and remind me.
47. It's 223-4730.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I drew a complete blank there. And also on the mailing that you received, you should have received a brochure that looks like this one on the screen, and all of the numbers that we talked about in this presentation are available in that brochure, so hopefully that will be a good resource for you. In our chat, someone says, how soon can this process begin? You can, if you have received your connection letter, which you should have, you can begin this process now. And that's for Elizabeth, who asked that question. Again, I want to thank you. I will tell you, under normal circumstances, we would have done this meeting as an in-person. Much easier to be able to answer questions, ask questions, and provide this to you. Out of an abundance of caution, we are doing it virtually with the current health conditions. So again, we apologize that we were not able to do this in person, but we hope this information has been useful. And please just know that if there's anyone from PwC that can help you, if you've got questions, please don't hesitate to ask. If you have any neighbors who were not able to attend this evening, this meeting was recorded and it will be on the PwC website. Under the residential menu, you'll see annexation, and if you go to project 23, hopefully we'll be able to have this recording up, a link to it sometime tomorrow. But it will be available for anyone who wasn't able to join us this evening. If there are no other questions, we are going to close the meeting. But again, thank you so much for attending, and y'all have a great evening.